Augusto José Ramón Pinochet Ugarte, the 25th of November 1915 to 10 December 2006, was dictator of Chile between 1973 and 1990 and commander-in-chief of the Chilean Army from 1973 to 1998. He was also president of the Government Junta of Chile between 1973 and 1981. Pinochet assumed power in Chile following a United States-backed coup d'état on the 11th of September 1973 that overthrew the elected socialist Unidad Popular government of President Salvador Allende and ended civilian rule. Several academics have stated that the support of the United States was crucial to the coup and the consolidation of power afterward. Pinochet had been promoted to commander-in-chief of the army by Allende on the 23rd of August 1973, having been its General Chief of Staff since early 1972. In December 1974, the ruling military junta appointed Pinochet president of Chile by joint decree, although without the support of one of the coup's instigators, Air Force General Gustavo Lee. For the start of the new military government, harsh measures were implemented. During the period of Pinochet's rule, various investigations have identified the murder of 1,200 to 3,200 people, with up to 80,000 people forcibly interned and as many as 30,000 tortured. According to the Chilean government, the official number of deaths and forced disappearances stands at 3,095. Under the influence of the free market-oriented neoliberal Chicago Boys, the military government implemented economic liberalization, including currency stabilization, removed tariff protections for local industry, banned trade unions and privatized Social Security and hundreds of state-owned enterprises. These policies produced what has been referred to as the miracle of Chile, but critics state that economic inequality dramatically increased and attribute the devastating effects of the 1982 monetary crisis on the Chilean economy to these policies. Chile was, for most of the 1990s, the best-performing economy in Latin America, though the legacy of Pinochet's reforms continues to be in dispute. Pinochet's 17-year rule was given a legal framework through a controversial 1980 plebiscite, which approved a new constitution drafted by a government-appointed commission. In a 1988 plebiscite, 56% voted against Pinochet's continuing as president, which led to democratic elections for the presidency and Congress. After stepping down in 1990, Pinochet continued to serve as commander-in-chief of the Chilean Army until the 10th of March 1998, when he retired and became a senator for life in accordance with his 1980 constitution. However, Pinochet was arrested under an international arrest warrant on a visit to London on the 10th of October 1998 in connection with numerous human rights violations. Following a legal battle, he was released on grounds of ill health and returned to Chile on the 3rd of March 2000. In 2004, Chilean Judge Juan Guzman Tapia ruled that Pinochet was medically fit to stand trial and placed him under house arrest. By the time of his death on the 10th of December 2006, about 300 criminal charges were still pending against him in Chile for numerous human rights violations during his 17-year rule, and tax evasion and embezzlement during and after his rule. He was accused of having corruptly amassed at least $28 million USD. Early life and military career. Pinochet was born in Valparaiso, the son of Augusto Pinochet Vera, a descendant of a French-Breton immigrant from Limbal, and Avelina Ugarte Martinez, a woman of Basque descent. Pinochet went to primary and secondary school at the San Rafael Seminary of Valparaiso, the Rafael Arrasca Institute in Quillota, the French Fathers School of Valparaiso, and then to the military school in Santiago, which he entered in 1931. In 1935, after 4 years of study, he graduated with the rank of alferez in the infantry. In September 1937, Pinochet was assigned to the Chacabuco Regiment in Concepcion. 2 years later, in 1939, then with the rank of sub-lieutenant, he moved to the Maipo Regiment, garrisoned in Valparaiso. He returned to infantry school in 1940. On 30 January 1943, Pinochet married Lucia Hiriart Rodriguez, with whom he had 5 children, Acutes Lucia, Maria Veronica, Jacqueline Marie, Augusto Osvaldo, and Marco Antonio. By late 1945, Pinochet had been assigned to the Karampang Regiment in the northern city of Iquitos. 3 years later, he entered the War Academy but had to postpone his studies because, being the youngest officer, he had to carry out a service mission in the coal zone of Lota. The following year he returned to his studies in the academy, and after obtaining the title of Officer Chief of Staff in 1951, he returned to teach at the military school. At the same time, he worked as a teacher's aide at the War Academy, giving military geography and geopolitics classes. He was also the editor of the institutional magazine Cien Aguilas. At the beginning of 1953, with the rank of major, he was sent for 2 years to the Rancagua Regiment in Arica. While there, he was appointed professor of the Chilean War Academy, and returned to Santiago to take up his new position. In 1956, Pinochet and a group of young officers were chosen to form a military mission to collaborate in the organization of the War Academy of Ecuador in Quito. He remained with the Quito mission for 4.5 years, during which time he studied geopolitics, military geography and military intelligence. It has been alleged that, while in Quito, Pinochet had a romance with Bidadno and fathered a boy named Juan. At the end of 1959 he returned to Chile and was sent to General Headquarters of the 1st Army Division, based in Antofagasta. The following year, he was appointed commander of the Esmeralda Regiment. Due to his success in this position, he was appointed sub-director of the War Academy in 1963. In 1968, he was named Chief of Staff of the 2nd Army Division, based in Santiago, and at the end of that year, he was promoted to Brigadier General and Commander-in-Chief of the 6th Division, garrisoned in Iquitos. In his new function, he was also appointed Intendant of the Tarapacá Province. In January 1971, Pinochet was promoted to Division General, and was named General Commander of the Santiago Army Garrison. At the beginning of 1972, he was appointed General Chief of Staff of the Army. With rising domestic strife in Chile, after General Prats resigned his position, Pinochet was appointed Commander-in-Chief of the Army on 23 August 1973 by President Salvador Allende, just the day after the Chamber of Deputies of Chile approved a resolution asserting that the government was not respecting the constitution. Less than a month later, the Chilean military deposed Allende. Military coup of 1973. On the 11th of September 1973, the combined Chilean armed forces overthrew Allende's government in a coup, during which the presidential palace, La Moneda, was shelled and Allende committed suicide. While the military claimed that he had committed suicide, controversy surrounded Allende's death, with many claiming that he had been assassinated. In his memoirs, Pinochet said that he was the leading plotter of the coup and had used used his position as commander-in-chief of the army to coordinate a far-reaching scheme with the other two branches of the military and the national police. In later years, however, high military officials from the time have said that Pinochet reluctantly became involved only a few days before the coup was scheduled to occur, and followed the lead of the other branches as they executed the coup. The new government rounded up thousands of people and held them in the National Stadium, where many were killed. This was followed by brutal repression during Pinochet's rule, during which about 3,000 people were killed, and more than 1,000 is still missing. In the months that followed the coup, the junta, with authoring work by historian Gonzalo Valle and Admiral Patricio Carvajal, published a book titled El Libro Blanco del Cambio de Gobierno en Chile, where they said that they were in fact anticipating a self-coup that Allende's government or its associates were purportedly preparing. United States intelligence agencies believed the plan to be untrue propaganda, although later discredited and officially recognized as the product of political propaganda. Gonzalo Valle insists in the similarities between the alleged Plan Z and other existing paramilitary plans of the Popular Unity parties in support of its legitimacy. Canadian Jean Charpentier of Télévision de Radio Canada was the first foreign journalist to interview General Pinochet following the coup. U.S. backing of the coup. The Church report investigating the fallout of the Watergate scandal stated that while the U.S. tacitly supported the Pinochet government after the 1973 coup, there was no evidence that the U.S. was directly involved in the coup. This view has been contradicted by several academics, such as Peter Wynne, who writes that the role of the CIA was crucial to the consolidation of power after the coup. The CIA helped fabricate a conspiracy against the Allende government, which Pinochet was then portrayed as preventing. He stated that the coup itself was possible only through a 3-year covert operation mounted by the United States. He also points out that the U.S. imposed an invisible blockade that was designed to disrupt the economy under Allende, and contributed to the destabilization of the regime. Author Peter Kornbluh argues in his book The Pinochet File that the U.S. was extensively involved and actively fomented the 1973 coup. Authors Tim Weiner in his book Legacy of Ashes and Christopher Hitchens in his book The Trial of Henry Kissinger similarly argue the case that U.S. covert actions actively destabilized Allende's government and set the stage for the 1973 coup. The U.S. provided material support to the military government after the coup, although criticizing it in public. A document released by the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency in 2000, titled CIA Activities in Chile, revealed that the CIA actively supported the military junta after the overthrow of Allende, and that it made many of Pinochet's offices into paid contacts of the CIA and U.S. military, even though some were known to be involved in human rights abuses. The CIA also maintained contacts in the Chilean DINA intelligence service. DINA led the multinational campaign known as Operation Condor, which amongst other activities carried out assassinations of prominent politicians in various Latin American countries, in Washington, D.C. and in Europe, and kidnapped, tortured and executed activists holding left-wing views, which culminated in the deaths of roughly 60,000 people. The United States provided key organizational, financial and technical assistance to the operation. CIA contact with DINA head Manuel Contreras was established in 1974, soon after the coup. During the junta period prior to official transfer of presidential powers to Pinochet in 1975, the CIA reviewed a warning that keeping Contreras as an asset might threaten human rights in the region. The CIA chose to keep him as an asset, and at one point even paid him. In addition to the CIA's maintaining of assets in DINA honor beginning soon after the coup. Several CIA assets, such as CORU Cuban exile militants Orlando Bosch and Guillermo Novo, collaborated in DINA operations under the Condor Plan in the early years of Pinochet's presidency. Military junta. A military junta was established immediately following the coup, made up of General Pinochet representing the army, Admiral José Toribio Merino representing the navy, General Gustavo Lee representing the air force, and General Acute S.A.R. Mendoza representing the carabineros. As established, the junta exercised both executive and legislative functions of the government, suspended the Constitution and the Congress, imposed strict censorship and curfew, banned all parties and halted all political activities. This military junta held the executive role until the 17th of December 1974, after which it remained strictly as a legislative body, the executive powers being transferred to Pinochet with the title of president.